Hi guys, Dan here from Your Guitar Academy, and we've all been there. Every single one of us, no matter how advanced now, we've all had to sit there and contort our entire wrist, stretch our bones to try and get this C major chord sounding as good as possible. Now, it is painful, it is hard, but in this video, I'm going to show you why it's so hard for beginners to get this chord right, and then exactly what you can do to make this a breeze to learn, to make this easy and enjoyable to learn, and actually learn a great song in the process. So, why is this C major chord just so hard to play for beginners? And believe me, it is, and there's three reasons I can think of as to why it's hard to play. One is the stretch, the finger stretch. Up to that point, you know, all the chords you probably would have looked at would have spanned maybe 2 frets max. You know, you probably dealt with the A, the E in various different ways, maybe a D major, all of which have a maximum span fret of 2 frets. When you get to C, you're dealing with 3 fret span. Now that's just hard. Each one of these fingers, there's a big gap in between each finger, which is all about teaching these fingers how to stretch across. So that's probably the main reason why it is so hard. Equally, the next reason, number 2, is that you need to leave the G and the E string ringing out, okay? So that's this string, the G and the E string. So within this chord, as well as actually worrying about how to fret it, you know, making sure the fretted notes are sounding good, the G string, open G string, and the open high E string should be sounding. And that involves getting these fingers, you know, wrapped around so that they're not, you know, attacking the string below or resting on the string below. So that's the second reason why it's really hard. And the final reason is maybe one of the first chords you've played where you have to try and deliberately avoid the low E string. You know, we don't want to hear that in the chord. It's not the worst thing in the world. It does work with it, but ideally you're trying to avoid it. So you're doing, you know, that, you're thinking about stretching the fingers, you're thinking about making sure that they're not resting on the strings below. There's so much to think about. So what can we do to actually make this chord easier? We now know the reasons why it's hard, and what I'm going to show you now is how you can make this easier. And we're going to do it via the route of song, as we should always be doing with the guitar. This is a musical instrument. We're trying to learn how to play music, so let's learn how to play music. This isn't just a physical activity. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to play you the song that we're going to try and learn, and then I'll break it down in the next part. Now, just before we crack on with that, there is a link in the description that will take you through to a page where we've got the full write-up, including the chord diagrams, everything you need to know, and the backing track, which you can download, put on your music player, and actually play along with this when you're ready to. Okay, so let's walk through this song. Now, remember, this song has been designed to help you learn this C major chord. So, of course, we are going to use the C major chord, but the whole point is that we build up to that in what I think is the easiest possible way to get this C major chord. So the first chord of this track, which is, I think, if you're trying to start playing a C major but you never have before, I would start with this, and it's a C major 7. So I would use, firstly, these fingers, my second and third finger, okay, and my third finger is on the 3rd fret of the A string, okay, and my second finger is on the 2nd fret of the D string. Now just notice a couple of things. One, both fingers are quite far along in the fret. They're kind of almost, they're basically touching the silver fret on the far side. They're not back here, we're over here. Okay, that's going to give you the cleanest possible sound. The other thing is that I'm really wrapping these fingers around. You can see that joint is nice and bent so that I've got a lot of space underneath here and I'm not hitting the string underneath. All the other strings are open. So it's a really nice sounding, chilled out chord, which is essentially a C major with one extra note, which is why we called it a C major 7. Now don't worry about the theory at all for now. Just think of this as a relatively simple way to play C. Now it doesn't always apply, but in this instance it's absolutely fine. Okay. Now the next chord I want you to play is something called a C add 9, okay, which is this. Okay. Now all I've done is taken the C major 7 chord, exactly the same shape, and I've added my little finger to the 3rd fret of the B string. Still playing all the strings apart from the low E string, okay? Now, this is one, and you can see all you're doing is adding that little finger, so it just takes a little bit of kind of dexterity with that little finger to place it in the right area, but seeing as you don't have to move these two, it's quite a nice change. Okay. And the reason I throw this one in here is because if you really struggle with that C major, then C add 9 is a genuine kind of chord that you can use in replacement for the C a lot of the time. Okay, so this is, you know, you'll see it played in a lot of different ways, but fundamentally it's the same chord. Okay, so that's another C something called C add 9. So another way you could play the C major if you struggle. So if you ever see a C major in a chord chart and you're like, oh, I just can't get to that one, but this one's a bit easier, you know, maybe you want to do it with slightly different fingers, give that a shot. Okay. Then the 3rd chord we're going to go to is an A minor 7. Okay. So the really important thing here is that this 2nd finger stays exactly where it is. It's still on the 2nd fret of the D string. And now my other fingers have come away, and my 1st finger is on the 1st fret of the B string. Again, I'm still avoiding the low E string. And that gives me my A minor 7. Once again, I'm trying to get the open G string. Okay, open E string. Okay, so I really want to try and make sure that when I pick down this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're all ringing out. Okay. So these are your 3 chords to start with. So C major 7, C add 9, and then A minor 7. So just take a bit of time just to try and practice moving between those chords. And what I love about this is that between those chords, you've actually fretted a whole C major without even realizing it. When you go, if you look at that A minor 7, that's the bottom of the C major. So if I just added this finger here, suddenly we've got a full C major. So if you can really focus in on making sure that chord sounds good, then the C add 9, and then this chord sounds good, then you know that you can definitely get 2 halves of the C major chord sounding really good. And then all there's left to do is play the full C major. So we'll get to that in a second. Now in terms of the rhythm and the timing, it's nice and easy. We're just doing all downstroke strums, okay? So literally just 1, 2, 2, and 3, and 4, and so all downstrokes, okay, so you don't even need to see the right hand, but if you did, all downstrokes, nice and simple. And you're going to do 1 bar on the C major 7, 1 bar on the C add 9, and 3, and 4, and 2 bars on the A minor 7. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So that whole part which you loop twice sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Just play that twice. Now, I would practice that first, just totally by itself, okay, in isolation, until you're really getting these chords comfortable in your fingers and sounding really good with the open strings ringing out. Then you're ready for the final step, creation of the C. So all you do is it kind of moves into, let's call it the chorus. So after you've done that round twice, if you were playing along with the backing track, it's from the A minor 7, you just add your 3rd finger to create the full C major chord. And we're just going to strum that for a whole bar. 1 and 2 and 3 and Now just make sure that you still got your high E string ringing out, your G string ringing out, okay? And if you've got the extra kind of mental capacity at this point and your fingers aren't just going to explode, then you can also consider that the nail of this finger can just slightly be touching the low E string, which will block it off. You can hear that sound? It's blocked off. And then to really get this shape ingrained, okay, the physicality of this shape, we're then going to slide it up 2 frets. Okay, so when I say slide it up, what I mean is take the pressure off the chord, but keep the chord shape there, so there's no pressure on that chord now, and just move up the shape. Okay, so don't drag it, you know, like this. Just take no pressure on, but keep the shape. Move it up so that you're now on the 5th, 4th, and 3rd fret, and this is like a D major chord. Sounds really good. You just got a D major with an open G. So that's a nice sounding chord. And you're just going to loop between those 2 chords 4 times like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. 3. So that's twice, 2 more times. And 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you go back to your first part. Okay, so the first bit we practiced. Okay guys, so there we have it. I really hope that helped. Remember to click the link below so you can get the download and actually play along with the music. Okay, I'll speak to you guys soon.